Television was very rarely preserved in the early years. In fact, when recording live programs via telerecording was introduced in 1947, big companies such as the BBC deemed the method to be of unacceptable quality, and didn't bother to utilise it until around 1953, and even then, very rarely so. As such, a large chunk of Britain's own television history is considered lost, most of it even forever. This is British Broadcast, a history of lost television. Z-Cars. Z-Cars was one of the BBC's most excessively produced shows during its early years, running for a total of 801 episodes through its 16-year run. The longest season, Season 6, produced 416 episodes from the 6th of March 1967 to the 24th of June 1971. The series differed sharply from earlier police procedurals. The series centred on the work of mobile uniformed police in the fictional town of Newton, based on Kirkby, near Liverpool. With its less usual Northern England setting, it injected a new element of harsh realism into the image of the police, which some found unwelcome, but a majority really enjoyed. The show was hugely successful and remains a cult figure in British television, being ranked 63rd in a 2000 poll conducted by the British Film Institute to find the 100 greatest British television programmes of the 20th century. Despite this, most likely due to its extremely high episode count, only about 320 episodes are currently thought to exist. This leaves 40% of the show intact, the other 60% completely lost. The original series was one of the last British television dramas to be screened as a live production. With videotaping becoming the norm and telerecording a mature method of preserving broadcasts, the practice of live broadcasting drama productions was rare by the time the programme began in 1962. Going out live was a preference of the series producer David Rose, who felt it helped immediacy and pace, and gave it an edge. As a result, episodes were still not being pre-recorded as late as 1965. Most of them were videotaped for a potential repeat, although the tapes, cost as part of the programme's budget, were normally wiped for reuse. So what else is new? To put the loss that this show suffered into a more clear perspective, here is a rundown of just how much survives versus what is missing. The 1962 to 65 period is reasonably well represented, though with big gaps. The largest comes from Series 2, with episodes 11 through 30 being completely missing. With the 1967 to 71 6th series, when the programme was shown almost every weekend, material becomes more patchy. The largest gap lies between episodes 59 and 188, totaling 129 missing episodes in a row. Of the 416 episodes made for this series, only 108 survive. A large chunk of episodes from 1967, 1969, and 1970 are also missing, but there are no surviving episodes from 1968 or 1971. Series 7 and 8 are also missing several episodes, but Series 9 through 12 are complete in the BBC archives. Discoveries of the show are not unheard of, going as far back as the early 1980s. The telerecording of the pilot episode, Four of a Kind, was returned to its writer Alan Pryor by an engineer. He had taken it home to preserve it because his children had enjoyed the programme, and as a result he could not bring himself to destroy it. Here's praying that was the fate of a lot of missing material. In 2004, the 2 episodes were discovered in a private collection. Additional episodes have turned up, and the BBC Archive Treasure Hunt is a drive to seek out missing episodes and is still open to information regarding missing editions of lost BBC television programmes. British vintage television enthusiast organisation Kaleidoscope is also interested in the recovery of lost television shows, regardless of their original maker or broadcaster. This includes Z-Cars, and there's a documentary about it on YouTube if you're interested. If you have any telerecording copies of Z-Cars, do not be afraid to have it copied for the possession of the organisations I just mentioned above, BBC Archive Treasure Hunt and Kaleidoscope. Any home video recordings would also be considered extremely useful, as well as audio recordings. Morecambe and Wise. Despite being one of the most iconic duos to ever perform, the Morecambe and Wise history on television is an unfortunate one, as amazing as it may have been. This is a longer one, so bear with me here. Parade of Youth is very enigmatic, and I couldn't really find any details on it. All I know about it is that it is only really notable for being their first ever appearance as a guest performing double act while being consistent performers on BBC Radio. Assuming it was broadcast live in 1951 before telerecording was utilised, their earliest televised performance does not exist. In 1953, Morecambe and Wise made an appearance on the television show Stars in Blackpool, which led to them meeting Ronnie Waldman, who started forming plans for the duo to headline their own television series. However, although the duo had performed in southern England on the variety circuit, their broadcasting career had largely taken place in northern England, which led BBC producers to suggest that their act might not work with southern audiences. Brian Sears, who was assigned as the new show's producer, eventually attached a group of 6 writers to the production, which received the title Running Wild. The series was given an initial run of 6 episodes, to be broadcast live fortnightly from the BBC Television Theatre in Shepherd's Bush. Morecambe and Wise made their first proper television debut in 1954. The sketch comedy show received poor reviews at the time, and a low appreciation index from the general public. Kenneth Bailey's review, Definition of the Week, TV set, The Box in Which They Buried Morecambe and Wise, was so damning that Ernie Wise carried a copy of it around with him for the rest of his life. The poor reception that the first show received, combined with only minor improvements in the quality for the second and third episodes, led to Morecambe and Wise suggesting to Ronnie Waldman that the remainder of the series be cancelled. In spite of their reservations, Waldman remained steadfast in his confidence in the duo and the production, and eventually ran for the full 6 episodes. The previously mentioned index had slowly increased over the course of the series, while the reviews had also improved. Nevertheless, the criticism that the duo had personally received meant that their personal morale and enthusiasm had evaporated by the end of the run. As Running Wild was broadcast live in the early to mid-50s, no telerecording was created, leaving all 6 shows completely lost. Although the ITV3 tribute series Morecambe and Wise Forever displayed an original script from Running Wild which stated that it was to be recorded, there is no evidence of whether this occurred, and if so, that any copy survived. The 2011 dramatisation Eric and Ernie, written by the late Victoria Wood, and based on the two's early career, featured several scenes from the show being recreated based on surviving scripts. Not to be confused with the 1998 American sitcom of the same name, Two of a Kind is significant for being their first actual success on television. The two's failure to make a significant impact the first time around led them back to performing to the variety circuit, slowly making a return to television with guest spots on The Winifred Atwell Show and Double Six, both of which are also completely lost. This also made Winifred Atwell the earliest black woman to have her own TV show, as well as the earliest one that is now lost. This led to Lou Grade offering them a spot on ATV. Once they were able to obtain the services of the writing team of Dick Hills and Sid Green, as well as producer Colin Clews, work could begin in earnest on the new show. Despite initial script issues and the lukewarm reception of the first series of shows, Two of a Kind became quite a success, continuing for a further 5 series, totaling 6 with a run of 69 episodes. However, only 51 episodes are thought to exist. Series 1, originally billed as Sir Bernard Delfont Presents Morecambe and Wise, is completely missing. While series 2 to 5 are complete, Series 6, the only series running at 60 minutes produced in colour, only contains 2 surviving episodes, the first 2 episodes that is, and they only exist as black and white telerecordings created for either preservation or overseas sale, or both. The exact nature of the loss of the missing episodes is unclear. In 1968, Lou Grade began negotiations for a new deal to retain Morecambe and Wise at ATV for another 3 years. However, at the time, the duo were anxious to take advantage of the technological advancements that were coming through in television, most notably the advent of colour. ATV at the time were not in a position to offer this, and so, in spite of the financial package offered, Morecambe and Wise instead accepted an offer to return to the BBC. This would lead to the creation of the Morecambe and Wise Show. The Morecambe and Wise show was an instant hit with audiences and remained a huge success throughout its 9-year run, peaking at 28 million viewers for its final Christmas special in 1977, before the duo moved over to ITV and continued the show under the same name and presentation, lasting a further 4 seasons, totaling 13 seasons, additional holiday specials, and 15 years on the air. Although the ITV ratings were healthy, they were not as high as the show's BBC era. Despite this, the ITV run exists in full, while the BBC iteration was not as fortunate. Only 2 complete episodes from Series 1, 5 and 7, are known to exist as black and white telerecordings, recovered from an abandoned theatre by Philip Morris in Freetown, Sierra Leone in 2018. They were able to have their colour restored via chroma dot recovery and were broadcast on Christmas and Boxing Day on BBC Two. Morris also recovered a copy of episode 2 from a film store in the Nigerian city Jos in 2012, but it was in critically poor condition owing to severe decay of the film stock, suffering from a film print disease called triacetate film-based degradation, and was unable to be used. Thanks to advances in restoration technology, however, 2017 saw the print begin to be restored. It's an extremely interesting process that uses lasers, X-rays, and microtomography to capture the images and restore the film.
Beautifully as well. Not a word out of sync. No, I'm not miming now, it's Mingles. You realise, of course, that the tape has stopped? Yeah, well, of course it stopped. Start it again! How does he do it?
An edited copy of episode 6 was also discovered by a film collector called Tim Disney, who bought it from a film store. Its editing meant that it was missing some fragments from the original broadcast version, and since it is most likely the last copy in existence, the missing moments may be permanently lost. Episode 4 has some sequences that survive, but the full episode is considered missing. For many years, the episode classed as 6, Series 4, was believed to be lost. No colour or black and white copy was thought to exist since the original airing. However, in 2020, while digging through some old papers in the family attic, Eric Morecambe's son Gary stumbled across a film copy of the episode. It was restored to full colour and black and white clips were shown in an ITV documentary in 2021. This has given many fans of the show hope that the missing episodes might still be out there, and some of the deceased actors of other missing shows could possibly have also had copies of their work. Only time will tell, but please search your attics and your basements. The complete Series 2 and 3 to 9, the surviving episodes of Series 4, and the edited Episode 6 and surviving fragments from Episode 4 and Series 1 are all available on the complete DVD collection. The only Christmas special not available is the 1974 Michael Parkinson Christmas program, which is more of just a reaction video than anything. Episodes 5 and 7 are still not available on DVD or BBC iPlayer, but are usually broadcast once a year on BBC Two. In an interview with Paul Vanezes, he reaffirmed that missing episodes of BBC programmes do still exist with collectors, mentioning an episode of the Morecambe and Wise show showing up on eBay. The family of a film collector prepared to dispose of his collection of roughly 40 film cans after his death until Vanezes and Kaleidoscope intervened. The family knew nothing about lost television, and once the lady organising the sale was made fully aware of the cultural value, negotiations for the material to be returned began. Fans are patiently awaiting when a new announcement is made concerning this material. Even if the prints are safely handed over, they may still require some restoration time, and may not be ready until as late as 2022. Trust me. Q. Spike Milligan's Q is a surreal sketch comedy show written by Milligan and Neil Shand, with additional material during later seasons by people such as David Renwick, Andrew Marshall, and John Antrobus. It starred Milligan alongside recurring players such as Julia Breck, John Bluthal, Bob Todd, and John Wells. The show ran from 1969 to 1982 on BBC Two. There were 6 series in all, the first 5 numbered from Q5 to Q9, and a final series titled There's a Lot of It About. The first and third series ran for 7 episodes, and the others for 6 episodes, each of which was 30 minutes long. Various reasons have been suggested for the title. One possibility is that it was inspired by the BBC's 6-point technical quality scale of the time, where Q5 was severe degradation to picture or sound, and Q6 was complete loss of sound or vision. This was extended by some engineering departments to a 9-point scale, finishing at Q9. According to Milligan's autobiography, the final series was renamed There's a Lot of It About after the BBC felt the public might find Q10 too confusing. Despite being considered hit or miss at the time, Q has been recognised as a landmark in British comedy and television. Despite this, Milligan's tempestuous relationship with the BBC caused there to be quite a large gap between the first 1969 series and the second series, with Series 2 debuting 6 years later in 1975. The series continued sporadically after this. Q7 appeared in 1978, Q8 shortly after in 1979, Q9 in 1980, and There's a Lot of It About in 1982. Milligan resented the BBC for the cold attitude they took towards the series in comparison with other shows like Flying Circus, and always maintained that, given the opportunity, he would have produced more. Due to the BBC's wiping policy, 34 of the 38 Q episodes still exist. This only affected series Q5, as 4 of the 7 episodes are now lost, and only 2 exist as black and white telerecordings, one still existing in its original colour videotape format. The 3 surviving episodes of Q5 are available alongside the surviving Q6 through 9 and There's a Lot About It. The only real chance of recovery of the missing 4 episodes is if they still exist with private collectors or in film stores, as the aforementioned black and white telerecordings, so a full colour recovery is unlikely, unless of course they have chroma dot information on the film copies. Apparently the BBC also occasionally threw out videotapes as opposed to wiping them to reduce storage costs, so there's a minuscule possibility the original tapes could exist somewhere, although they were most likely wiped and then subsequently junked. If you have any copies or videotapes or even home video recordings of the show, audio or video, don't be afraid to hand them over. I'm sure a lot of cult Milligan fans would really appreciate it.